Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy and blessed Monday, and welcome to episode 568 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, where tonight the conversation is going to be focused on the Fantastic Four First Steps opening weekend globally, and the actuals for the weekend have officially come in. Turns out, it didn't make as much as even the so-called box office experts were saying it had done yesterday. So as you all know, the global opening for Fantastic Four First Steps was listed at $218 million. $118 million was reported for the domestic, with $100 million being reported for the international. Well, as we all know, those are estimates, and those estimates can obviously change. They usually don't change by all that much, and let's just be honest here, this only got changed by about a couple of million. But when you are in the position that Marvel is in, when you're in the position of the MCU, and with the importance of a lot of the MCU's future riding on the success or failure of this movie, every dollar counts. Every single one of them counts. And guess what? This movie made less than the initial estimates had. And so with an opening weekend of $218 million has now made way for an opening weekend of actually $216 million, meaning it is made now that much less, about $8 million less than what the Superman movie made just a couple weeks ago, and also made about only $4 million more in the international markets. As a very rare case in this situation, international is, at least according to the numbers.com, the international numbers were actually also adjusted, and it only made $99 million there, as over the weekend it was reported it had made $100 million internationally. Whether it's 99, whether it's 100, whether it's 117 versus whether it's 118, none of that really matters, because what we do know is that this is some of the lowest box office numbers that we have seen for the MCU. It's definitely not nearly at the same level as the likes of Thunderbolts or Captain America Brave New World. I think that some people are, being overly harsh about the box office. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not a good box office number. This is not the kind of opening weekend a movie like this wants to have. When you are an MCU film setting up a new stage, featuring the Fantastic Four, you are trying, and with all that marketing that was put into it, with all the clear spending that was put into the budget for this movie, with all of the different actors, whether you like them or not, still a lot of name, power, and just a lot of raw talent on screen as well. They clearly wanted and needed this movie to do really, really well. And the sad reality is that it is not. It might be doing significantly better than Thunderbolts, significantly better than a film like Captain America Brave New World. But when you are losing to Superman, which, remember, people forget this, right? Because sometimes people like to rewrite history in their own minds or like to ignore the reality. Superman ain't doing all that well either. I know that the hardcore fans of the film, all the gun nuts out there, are trying to will that film's popularity into existence and say, but it's made $500 million globally. Isn't that really, really good? It's made close to that amount globally. Isn't that really, really good? It's like, look, for individual film, it's definitely doing better, I think, than anyone could have anticipated. But don't forget about how much that budget was, and don't forget about how badly it's doing internationally. There is a cap to what that film will end up making. And as of right now, I think most of the people that have gone to see it have already seen it. It held very well in its first week of release. It's held a lot better in its second and third week of release. But here's the issue, and I pointed this out in my box office breakdown video yesterday, that people are ignoring. Just go ahead and look at what the percentage drop-off is for Jurassic World's domestic total. For the last 2 weeks, Jurassic World, which came out a week earlier than Superman, Jurassic World is dropping in the 40s every week. We now have 2 weeks of 55-plus drops for Superman. Now, for your second weekend number, that's pretty good. But when you're in your third weekend and now you're seeing that kind of a drop-off, it seems now to be showing a little bit of a trend, which is that there are a very loud minority of people of fans of James Gunn who are trying their best to go see this film as often as they can. There's clearly also a sizable portion of the normie audience that is interested in this film, checking it out for themselves to a much higher degree, we could say, than that of the Fantastic Four film. And the other advantage, of course, is that whereas Superman had a stronghold domestically, though it is, again, doing nothing internationally, it also is going up against a Fantastic Four film which had the same problem that Superman did in its opening weekend. Remember, I was critical of Superman saying, hey, it's got a backwards box office right now. It's making so much more money domestically than it is internationally. And though that might be good as far as the studio's bottom line, because for those that don't know, a movie studio gets about 55% of the box office receipts from the North American audiences, right, from the domestic marketplace. They only get about 40% of the international take, and only 25% from China, of all places, as well. So you want to make a lot of money here domestically, but the other factor people always forget is that when you make a movie like this, you also have investors, and that these are investors that you indeed want to impress, and that global total can mean a lot. When you have a film like this, you think, and as an investor, you think, wow, okay, this film should be doing, what, $1 billion or close to $1 billion? I'm going to tell you right now, the way the film is tracking, tracking well as an individual release, it's not going to get anywhere close to that number. And when you compare it to other films like Jurassic World, compare it to The Batman, compare it even to the adjusted numbers for films like Man of Steel, it's going to be coming short of those movies. So individually, yeah, sure, you can make the argument, I guess. But then again, what is the actual budget of this movie? Is it the $225 that they are claiming is real? Is it the $360 plus million that was reported on the tax filing? Despite the fact that people, again, will use everything to say, oh, well, yeah, they can just write whatever they want on there. It's like, I'm pretty sure that you can't just lie on your tax form. And even if you're trying to get a request, and so therefore you can sometimes maybe puff things up a bit, I think you can only do that to a certain extent or within a certain percentage parameter. If I were to say, hey, I really want a tax credit, my movie's going to cost $500 million, and then it only ends up costing $20,000. Well, okay, I should probably get investigated for some type of tax fraud. Now, obviously, that's not the disparity that's going on here, but if you're saying $360 million and then your actual spend is closer to what, $255 is what they're going to claim, saying, oh yeah, our tax rebates brought us down to $225, I'm sorry, some of that math does not quite add up for me. But even all those other things aside, when you look at the historical examples, the historical comparisons, the fact is neither of these films are doing well. That's why it's always fun to be in a position like mine, because even though I'm trying to be as honest as I can with these numbers, I'm trying to give you examples, I'm trying to break down the math, break down the history, like where these films tend to go after these specific kinds of results, I get called one thing or the other, right? I'm a Snyder bro, even though anyone who knows me knows I cannot stand Zack Snyder, and I hate almost every single one of his movies, and the ones that I don't hate, I think have not aged well. I can't think of a single film from him directly that I've ever, in the recent memory, have had a desire to rewatch. And in many cases, it's just painful when we have to watch it. Rebel Moon, anybody? Good grief. At the same time, I am going to be always very critical of the MCU schlock that we tend to get. Now, do I think that this is on the better side of those things? Absolutely. But do I also think that the criticisms people are laying out there about the story elements of this movie are just right on the board? Yeah, absolutely. The third act of this movie, more so than anything else, is a catastrophe as far as the writing is concerned. So there are a lot of worthy criticisms, and this is a reminder, right? The MCU also has been a giant mess. But two things can be true at once, okay? The MCU can be in a mess, but so can the DCU as well. And I think for a lot of people, especially those people that are just like, so for some reason, obsessively defending Superman to an unhealthy degree, the gun nuts are crazy, guys, okay? But they're doing it so much so that they are willing to try to argue, on the one hand, Fantastic Four is failing, while on the other hand saying, oh, but our movie is doing phenomenal. It's like, well, actually, Fantastic Four is doing a lot worse than Superman. This is true, but I wouldn't say either of them are succeeding. And I think anyone who says that either of them are a success either isn't being fully honest with you or is just not really looking at the numbers as they are. So all of that stuff we will talk about tonight. Lots of numbers to crack down. Lots of numbers to go through tonight. And let's go ahead and say hello to the people in the chat. Make sure you smash that like button. Also, make sure that you light up that rumble button over on the green machine as well. We had a couple of people here early, so let me just go ahead and make sure I get those guys. So first, Snorterpoopus Cuber, who's starting off with the #1 spot. So apparently now YouTube is doing that whole ranking thing. I might have to do something with like giveaways in the future. I have nothing planned for tonight, everybody, but maybe have it be where, hey, my top 3 are, put in some type of, what's the name? A pool for a giveaway, right? So it's like, oh, here's the options, and whoever's name gets chosen can get something. I might do that in the future if I feel like it's a fair system, because I think it's all based on interactions. And so I think you do get more benefits if you give memberships, gift memberships, and super chat and stuff. And again, it makes sense, right? You're spending money, and so therefore you should get a little bit more. But I think just general chat interaction should also get you some XP. You should see like the little XP counter somewhere in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. But Snorpoopus, who of course was starting the #1 spot because he was the first one here at 6:39, saying, "Hello, humans and other quitters. What's going on, Snorpoopus? What is going on?" And then he goes on to say here, "Hello to me. Hello." We got H Dizzle. What's going on, H Dizzle, the #2 spot, saying, "Fill my ear holes with your glorious words. Yes, indeed, the most that you will ever hear me speak on pretty much any of the shows that we do." #2, of course, being the Salty Nerd podcast stream, and last being FNT. Thenodos Felicitas saying hello to you, #3. And then Kimberly G took the #3 as a member on the channel, saying, "Howdy, Odin in chat. Howdy, you." Kimberly G, Killian Shadow Cat. Hope you're doing well. We got Mr. Roy saying, "Hello." What's going on, Mr. Roy? Glad to have you here. Fastland Cliffhanger is hanging out in the chat as well. Let's go ahead and back into the chat here. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington saying here, "Trailer dropping like boom. Avatar Part 3, the leak 2 weeks ago, was the real trailer, and it was still rubbish then. Have not seen it, do not want to see it, because everything Avatar, from everything I've always seen from Avatar, whether it's the first film or the second film, it was just garbage. I'm sorry. Just because it looks nice, just because you think something looks pretty, does not make it a good movie. That's just not how this works. You can enjoy it. Can't say it's a good film." Jeremy Sikowski, dad say, "Good evening, Odin and everyone on here." Good evening to you. Justin C, "Hail, hope the AC unit is all fixed up and keeping you all cool this evening." Yes, we had the AC checked, our general maintenance. There was a leak that had to be fixed. Luckily, it didn't sound like it was too bad. It's one of those things where our AC units are at the end of their life, meaning that they, I think, came with like a 10, 15, I don't know how long these systems are supposed to work, but like a 10 plus year warranty or 10 plus year shelf life. And so they're reaching like their 10th or 12th year, whatever the number is. So it's one of those things where, hey, as long as it keeps working, hey, just keep the maintenance up and you should be okay for as long as it will last. But it is at the end of its life, nearing the end of its life. And so therefore, be ready for all those things that oftentimes happen. We got Laura, the Mono Major General, saying, "How?" I'm assuming that's how you were saying it. That's how I read it in my head. H Dizzle Network, "My ear holes yearn for your words." Good man. That's a little weird, man, H Dizzle, but I do appreciate your support. We got Mark Lurseth. "Hail to you. Will Fantastic Four have legs next weekend?" What do we mean? I guess it depends on what we mean by that. Is it going to drop in the 50s? That's where the trends are. With nothing crazy coming out, 40s to 50s sounds about right. But I will say, if Fantastic Four, sorry, I'm thinking of Superman. So if Superman drops in the 50s once again, I think that gives you a sign that it is slowing down a lot more than people think, right? So it seems that would indicate that the hardcore gun nuts are starting to run out of steam of being able to support their movie. But again, we're not seeing that officially yet. All I can just do is look at the numbers as they are, and they're definitely on the higher end of things, not where people would want them to be if they would want the domestic to make up for the losses they're seeing internationally. Right now, that international loss for Superman is really crippling the long-term prospects for what the film can fully make down the line. Now, if obviously you're referring more so to Fantastic Four, there is an article we'll look to about what the prospective drop-off will be. And let's just say it's not looking good. This early on, the early murmurings are we're going to see we're going to see an MCU level drop-off. Keely Chow, hail to you, Keely. Welcome back. Twisted Reality, hail to you. Thank you again for being here. Let us see. Again, thank you to all of the members here on the channel. We got Miger Baguette tagging here saying, hey, Odin, John Campea on his show today was talking about Superman and its break even, among other things. He said that he was told the marketing budget was $150 million. Okay, again, that's coming from John Campea, and John Campea is going to do what John Campea does. So when it comes to that, we could always take anything he says with a giant grain of salt, because this dude has just been lying through his teeth for decades, and he's made a career out of it. That's just kind of his shtick, as it were. But being told, $150 million marketing. Well, here's the thing. Anyone could say that, and the number would be probably in the ballpark, right? So if the movie, if the film only cost $225 million to make, right? That is what they are telling the trades. That is what's being widely reported. If that is true, then your typical marketing spend on a movie like that would actually be less than $150. Your typical marketing spend would be, hey, you take half your budget, that's your marketing spend. You add both those numbers together, your production budget, and then that half number, that gives you your total spend. So let's just assume that the budget for the movie is actually closer to $250, right? That would make it around $125 million in marketing, and that would give you your total spend. So that tells me, okay, they're seemingly admitting that they're spending a little bit more on marketing. It could be one of two things. Either one, they're wanting to spend more money on marketing because they just wanted to make sure that campaign was robust. They knew that they had to make a lot of money on this movie just to make their money back, so they wanted to overspend. Or it could also mean, hey, that budget number they're throwing out there isn't accurate, and if we take that 150 number, that would indicate to me a $300 million budget, because, yeah, you spend 150 on marketing when you are spending $300 million in your budget. So, take that for what it is. Who knows? But, yeah, it is what it is. Michael Brigette saying, Campea also said that his formula for figuring out break-even point is that he learned while at AMC from an actual exhibitor is production plus marketing times 1.5 said Superman's break-even $555 million. So, yeah, I always love that, right? Because, even when I do it, I try to make it clear that I'm speaking in a, no pun intended, a campy way. But, yeah, I worked at a theater directly. It's funny, he's like, when I worked at AMC, bro, weren't you literally just like, you were the social media guy? So you were working for AMC, but you were not really working for AMC? Again, it's been a long time since this AMC talk, which was also so terrible to listen to. Because even back then, even back in the day, when he was kind of building himself up, I remember kind of just yelling at the stream because he would always have yes men on his show. He would always have people that agreed with him on his show. And so whenever there was nerd stuff that would come up or things that were worthy of criticism, there wouldn't happen. They wouldn't have those kinds of discussions. And even several times I remember being in his chat saying, bring me on, dude, because you are wrong. You are wrong about this budget. You are wrong about this, XYZ. So he can say that all he wants. Here's the thing, though, all right? That's really not that far off from where the typical, again, I like how he's like, oh, well, this is what an actual exhibitor tells me. Okay, guess what? That's also no different than your standard. Because guess what? If you're taking your production plus marketing times 1.5, how is that all that different than budget alone times 2.5 or budget alone times 3 as your break-even point? And therefore, he is saying Superman's break-even is around $555 million. And again, that's also assuming that budget that's being reported is accurate in the first place. So, yeah. Oh, Campea. I'm surprised that he's still around. I thought, wasn't he? I mean, again, didn't he retire from YouTube Wasn't that something that he was going to be doing? Or is this his last year on YouTube and then he's just going to go purely audio? And if he is already audio, God bless you, man, for actually listening to anything that dude has to say. After all of his crazy rants, I would have thought that dude's credibility was shot, but apparently not. Keely Chow at number 2 saying here, Hail Odin, how are you? Thor Freya, Baby Sif doing? How was your weekend? Also, what did you do for Friday? Did a Friday night? We actually changed it up a little bit. We got some pizza on Friday, we got some pizza from a different shop. Again, my mind is just blanking on me for whatever reason. And I honestly, at this point, can't say I remember. Just give me 1 second as I try and pull up my security cams for a second, just to make sure. When the kids are asleep, sometimes especially my son, he can get up and then he likes to, come up with any and every excuse to try to not be in bed. But it looks like he's actually sleeping, little guy. So good for him. But anyway, getting back to it, it was, oh my goodness gracious, I cannot think of the place. Anyways, a different pizza place. It was very, very good. I got cheese pizza, but again, just general cheese pizza. It's the usual, and everyone's doing good. All right, Luke Zilla at 732. Hail Odin and all. Hail to you, Luke Zilla. Howdy, howdy, howdy. We got the Morak. Thank you for tagging. If you have a comment or question that you want read aloud, or just read by me or answered in any way, just put at Odin at the very beginning of a comment, at Odin. It lets me know that you're trying to get my attention. You can, of course, also super chat, donate via Streamlabs as well if you want to skip the line and get a question answered that much more quickly. It also helps to support the channel here as well. If you donate via Streamlabs, YouTube does not get any of that. So that is, I would argue, the best way to support the channel. But again, I do read all comments and chats. The only thing I ask you the only payment is that you put at Odin, just like Luke Zilla did here. See how he's like at Odin there? That's all you got to do. At Odin, and it lets me know you're trying to get my attention, and I will highlight it and read it aloud. The exceptions, of course, being if you are a member here on the channel, I will highlight those messages unless I see you're tagging other people in your conversations. But let's start over here with Luke Zilla, as it is listed here. He says, the bad guys too and Freaky Friday are going to cut really quick into Superman's legs as well in the coming weeks. Also, Jurassic made $24 million internationally, 4th weekend. Superman, $19 million, 3rd weekend. Yep. And that is, I think, the big news. So we knew Jurassic World was going to dominate internationally. The surprise, really, the real surprise for Jurassic World is how well it's doing domestically. I mean, y'all do realize that movie is at $300+ million domestically? With how terrible of a film that is phenomenal. I mean, for all the gun nuts out there, Superman's looking to get to 350 domestically. But, and earlier on, guess what? I probably would have said, yeah, you know what? Superman will probably end up with a higher domestic total versus Jurassic World, but Jurassic World's international is going to be so much better. Jurassic World's still going to win the battle. Now there's actually a very good case to be made that you will very likely see Jurassic World end with a higher domestic and international total. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Kengan Rumsky, favorite summer movie so far? I think it's a pretty easy one, F1. I think F1 is the best summer movie thus far. Yes, I'm, of course, the Snyder Pro, because that's just how it goes. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Let's see. Mark Lizette saying, using their numbers, 225 budget, 150 marketing means 375 million, and that means they need 750 million to break even. That would be actually pretty funny if Campia put out there, hey, here are the metrics that this exhibitor told me, so therefore, look, I'm appealing to authority here, so that's why I'm that much more trustworthy than anybody else who's speaking about these numbers. But yeah, so the budget that they are reporting, that all the trades are reporting, is 220. I guess the big question is, what number is he listing as the budget, right? Is he listing something lower as the budget? So if it's 225 and then you've also got 150 reported for your marketing, that's 375, as you said. John Campy apparently then said, yeah, you take 1.5 times that, and that gives you your total. So even then, so it doesn't go to 750, by the way. All right. If we're just using their numbers and using their math. So again, according to him, He says the break even's 1.5 times your total spend. So marketing and budget. But, and this could have been a mistype as well, if he's saying it was 555, well, 375 times 1.5 is actually 562 million. So for the record there. But again, I don't think that's a very good way of actually marketing, actually a good way of calculating this stuff, because it ignores several factors. The reason why the break-even points are what they are, this is why we do the budget and not marketing too. Okay? Why do we do 2.5 times the budget? Why do we do 3 times the budget? The reason why is because those account for the fact that, for one, you do have to take into account your total spend, budget, and marketing together. That's something people don't always do. But also, the other thing that people, and I think John Campy especially, is going to be very guilty of this, you have to also account for the fact studios do not get 100% of the box office receipts. If the numbers that he was saying were accurate, then guess what? Once they hit that number, my chart should say, oh, nice and clean. Everything has been paid for. But guess what? It won't. And it's because you only get, as a studio, 55% of the domestic market and 40% of the international, with the exception of China, where you only get 25%. That breakdown is the reason why it's actually 2.5 times to 3 and in the modern world, 3 times your budget, because you have to make that much more money back when all that money has been stripped from you because of those deals, etc. General Wingster, hail to you, our pet troll here on the channel. Always very glad to have him here. Virtual Reality Fitness is here on the channel as well. Mark Lizette, exactly. They're both struggling. Ambrose Sharonpot, hi, Odin, I'm on Team Happy Gilmore 2. I will say this much. Happy Gilmore 2 is not a good movie. However, it was fun. It is probably one of the better sequels that I have seen, comedy sequels especially. It did pretty much for me everything that it needed to do to get a few laughs from me and for me to walk away saying, you know what, I had a good time. I don't have any desire to really necessarily watch it ever again, but I didn't hate it. That's kind of the era and the standard that we have is, oh, do I actually just fully hate everything about this, or is there something there? And I think there is something there. Right? I didn't hate it. That's not a ringing endorsement, by the way. I'm still admitting it's not a good movie. It's got a lot of problems. It's got a lot of issues, but it's fun. Luke Zillet, 740. Over on Box Office Reddit, people get called a Snyder fan if you even dare to mention inflation, because apparently their excuse is only Snyder fans are bringing up inflation. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting into my comments too. Even though in like the same sentence, I'm also being critical of these other things. It just kind of is amazing. It is kind of amazing. It's and that's why also keep in mind, most people who leave comments don't actually watch the video. They see your headline, they see the thumbnail, and so they're complaining and they're debating against that. And it's like, well, look, if you actually watch the video, you would see why I'm saying those things, because everything I have in my headlines, everything I have in my thumbnails are all accurate. But without context, yeah, I could see why you would maybe get a little bit confused there. Oh, General Wingster. We got Gus hanging out in the chat. What's going on, Gus? He just says, sup. Jeremy Zikowski tagging to say here, I have an idea that will make studios $1 billion. Crossover in the making. I present to you Godzilla versus the Meg. I think someone's brought this up before. But again, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Exvoot. EXVoot. So thanks for all you do. Your videos have really ignited my interest in the financials of the movie business. Can Jurassic get to $1 billion? Japan hasn't opened and Dominion did $46 million there. I don't think it can. And again, it all comes down to where you are tracking in relation to previous releases. And so when you compare it to the previous Jurassic World releases, it just does not seem likely. Right, so you look at where was it at week 1 versus this movie, where was it at week 2 versus this movie globally, and it's still tracking enough behind in a lot of these markets that it's not likely. Now, it's still doing so much better than expected. It's $700+ million now at the global box office. So it's going to end between, 800 to 900 million by the end of its run. But law of diminishing returns tells me it's not gonna reach $1 billion. Remember that the last movie barely reached $1 billion, And it was just because the studio probably put it out in a bunch of theaters, probably had a bunch of promos or something for it, trying to will, right, the existence of its $1 billion existence, right, trying to push it across the finish line. So I think that is something that that is the most likely scenario. Anyway, Willow, calm down. She's crying next to me. Let's see. The Morak. I've never seen an Avatar movie and have no intention to change that. Don't. Yeah, you're not missing anything. General Wingster. Odin, do you like my jeans? Goodness gracious, General Wingster. Oh, is that what you have in your profile picture? How dare you? Shorty Short saying, Unobtainium, the dumbest thing ever. Yes. Oh my goodness. Everything about Avatar. So stupid. Zine Water, Zine. It's been a while, bro. Welcome back. He says, stretches and yawns. All right, I used to hang out here a lot more. Yeah, dude, where you been? Where you been? You need to hang out here more often. All right. Let's see. Gary Banjo with Worthington. No more Pedro in 2025, please. I looked at his release schedule. He should not have any other projects coming out this year. And then he has maybe 2 or 3 coming out next year. So... Luke Zilla, all the international hates America arguments going to be numb when something like Avatar 3 outgrosses Superman entire international and probably worldwide box office in its opening weekend. And yeah, there are so many other factors that you could look to. Like you could look to Donald Trump's first term. You could look to films that were being released right when at the very beginning of his presidency, right? There's so many other factors here and things you can look to. I mean, oh, is that the reason why Minecraft did as poorly as that one did internationally? Oh, wait, actually it did pretty well there internationally and got close to $1 billion, and it's a film that really shouldn't have, but it did. Oh yeah, that whole argument is just complete nonsense. It's cope, and it's just another reason. It's these TDS people who just want to find a reason to blame Trump for everything, and it's getting it's been ridiculous for a while, but it's getting even more ridiculous, it seems. All right, let's see. General Wingster. So what Pedro movie are you going to see? I'm definitely going to see Pedro playing Pedro. I see what you did there. Heartbreak Ridge. Hail, chat, and Odin. Hail to you. Thanks for being a member here on the channel. The Morak. How do you say? Still pulling for F1 to continue to draw. It is holding very well. That is definitely the truth. Sailor Mercury. AMC talk shows were terrible. Collider as well. I think Collider started off better and then got worse over time. If memory serves me right. It's kind of like, man, back in the day when it was just the schmoes. Remember when they had Schmoes Know? That was good. That was back in the golden days. And many of you, this is a deeper cut, so I don't think a lot of people ever listened to this podcast. There was a phenomenal audio podcast called Movie BS with Bear and Snyder. And it was fantastic. It was hilarious. It was movie fans. And it was great. And unfortunately, they called it quits several years ago now at this point. I still can't believe that show is gone. But it started around that same time when you had kind of the heyday of some of these really great channels. And that's why it's like only Jeremy Johns is like, Jeremy Johns and John Flickinger are the only ones that are still like consistently doing what they're doing. They're still the same people. And everyone else has either gone off the rails or have become completely different people, and in many cases have just become complete shills for the sake of trying to remain relevant and for money. Again, those are the only two I can think of. Chris Tuckman sold his soul a long time ago because he just wanted to make movies, and so he's like, oh well, I can't talk bad about anything anymore. That's when he lost his credibility, and I think that's when a lot of people stopped trusting him. Isn't John Campea the reigning shill of the year? He is. He is the 2025 recipient of the Raven Award for Shill of the Year. After being nominated several years in a row with no victory, he finally pulled out a victory this year. Shorty Short saying, didn't Campea hire a hot chick to read his super chats? I think he probably I don't know about that. He definitely hired someone, though, because he was notorious for kind of not pre-reading things. Killy Chow says, nice. Keaton saying here, do you think the bad guys 2 could challenge Fantastic Four? No. And actually, yeah, someone made a comment earlier about competition. I'm going to say right now, there is nothing coming out in the month of August that's going to do any real competition. And keep in mind, I'm very much against the idea of, competition is going to destroy. Look, if you want to go see a movie, if people want to go see a movie, just because a bunch of movies that they want to see are out does not mean that they are just never going to see those films, right? Competition only does so much. Competition is much more important internationally than it is domestically, okay? But no, August is going to be a pretty dead month. So, some people are saying, but that's good news for Fantastic Four and for Superman because with no new movies, it means that those will be the only films in town. It's like, just because they're the only films in town, though, does not mean that, a bunch of people are just going to keep coming to the theater. It's actually the opposite, right? Because without new films to kind of keep the thing going, I don't know why this movie came into my mind just now, but, bear with me. Did anyone ever see the film The Core? Oh, man. A little bit of a throwback here. But in The Core, right, the whole premise of the movie, for those who have not seen it, is that the center of the Earth, right, the core of the Earth has stopped moving. And because of that, there are now these terrible consequences, these electrical storms that are destroying things. It's like, okay, apocalyptic. So they have to send this team on a mission in this drill, and it's made of this very special material, a lot of plot armor in this movie, guys, but it's made of this very special material that can drill through all the way to the center of the Earth, to the core of the Earth, right? And it can withstand the pressure. In fact, heat and pressure make it stronger and make it go faster. It's this whole thing. I'm going to be honest. I love the film, though. It's so much fun. You are able to suspend your belief because of how ridiculous the whole concept is in the first place. It's a lot of fun. Hilary Swank is in that movie. And there's actually a plethora of other people that you'll be like, oh, yeah, I know this person. But in that, once the whole plan that they figure out is they are going to have to jettison parts of their ship, because it's kind of segmented, and they're going to have bombs, like these nukes essentially, in each of these compartments. But what they have to do is, in order to get the center to move, in order to get the core to start rotating again, they have to have a bomb go off, which causes a shock wave. So that way, by the time it reaches the next one, that goes off and continues that shock wave. And by the time that one goes off, it continues it, and it just goes on and on and on. That's what creates the motion, right? So it's about getting that power started, that movement started, getting picked up by something else and going forward. That's kind of how the movies are, right? If you have consistently big movies that come out every week, ideally, or even every other week, then you're going to have that same effect of audiences saying, oh, now guess what? I'm getting used to going to the theater. And now when it's those off weeks, because I've gotten into that rhythm and pattern again, now I'm more willing to be like, hey, I wonder what's showing up this weekend because, hey, it's a weekend, right? And we've been having a bunch of films every week. And then that's typically what would make people go see those lesser known films, right? To keep the box office healthy. That was gone after COVID, though. COVID killed it. The studios specifically, Hollywood specifically, killed it because of their choices, because of the metrics, because of what they decided to do. And now you don't have this same method anymore. You don't have it, right? Instead, you've got, okay, we've got the summertime where, oh yeah, things are going real well. And then all of a sudden, guess what? We get to next weekend, nothing. So you have some residual holdover, but you've got nothing new to drive more people out, new people out, or the people that have already seen those other films back out again to the theater to keep them in that routine. And that is what's going to impact those movies. So Freakier Friday, it's not going to be a huge, massive success. It's not going to be a huge, it might be successful for its own individual release, meaning it might be able to make up its own budget and things like that. But no, it's not going to be able to, it's not going to compete against those movies in the way that people think that it's going to happen. And it's just because it has nothing against them. It's just more about how the movie theaters actually work and just how the system really works in general. Hopefully that very obscure reference, though, to The Core made sense. And to anyone who appreciated the fact that I just brought up The Core as a film as a way of positively explaining how box office can work sometimes, you're welcome. Anyway, Michael Burkett. Campia was originally going to retire between Superman release and end of the year, but signed with a company for sponsorship deals, continuing for at least another year and a half or so. Yes, because guess what? He has no principles. That's why. So he's like, oh, I'm going to retire. Now it's like, okay, now in retrospect, okay, he was never going to retire. He was using that as a bargaining chip to try to push people to sponsor him. That's why. That's about as pathetic as you can get, man. Oh, goodness me. Kids love dinos. People overseas love dinos, it seems. My Baguette, he listed $220 million as the budget. King and Rumsky, who's worse, Campea or Tony from Deadline? Because of his position, Tony at Deadline. Because Campea is just a guy on the internet. Some people take him seriously for some darn reason still. But Tony is a writer for Deadline. That's a major trade publication that is read by a lot of people. So I would say Tony. Tony also, I think, knows better. I do not think that Tony is a moron. I think that Tony knows very well what he is doing. He has a very good historical mind. The issue is that he uses it to try to perpetuate narratives that are just not accurate. Sailor Mercury, tags say 25% from China is wild. Why would studios even bother with all the pandering it requires for little payoff? I'll tell you why, Sailor Mercury. It's a great question. Back in the day, when you were making $200, $300 plus million just from China, guess what? That's a pretty good reason to put a lot of your eggs in that basket, because even 25% of that large of a pie is still pretty darn good. As I just heard thunder, so if my dogs start freaking out, that is the reason why. So that's the one part, right? They put a lot of this money, a lot of this time investing in these international markets, and especially in China, because yes, these deals have been terrible for them, but if they make enough in China, and there was a time when they were making a lot of money there, even that 25% was still pretty darn good. However, the bigger reason why is because even if you're only getting 25% of $200 million, guess what? That's still $200 million being added to your global total. A studio will care more about hitting $1 billion at the box office than they will about as far as your net gains coming back. Like, so for instance, even though anyone who can do simple math could look to Star Wars Rise of Skywalker and say, hey, guess what? It says, hey, it made $1 billion at the global box office, right? And it made a lot of money in these different locations. If you actually take away the cuts that they get as a studio, and if you look at the real budget, remember, these were the same movies that when they first came out, it was, oh yeah, it cost $250 million. Maybe they would give us a $300 million here and there. That's a movie that cost, I think, well over $400 to $500 million. So its break-even point was $1 billion. And it's funny because that movie actually ended up losing about $100 million, if memory serves me right, because of where it made its money and because of how much money it spent. So that's the reason why, though, right? Because on paper, it can make your movie look a lot more successful than it actually is. Because if you're making like a huge, this is what Jurassic World was going through. This is what the Godzilla films actually even were going through, though. When they had their special deal with Legendary because of the connection with the CCP, they were actually getting a better deal. We never knew exactly how much because they never told us. We had one record of one executive, though, for the Chinese company saying, oh, it's much better than 25%. So take that for what it is. But even they, right, guess what? A huge portion of their money was coming from mainland China. And so it helps your overall total look a lot healthier, even though if you actually dig into the numbers, just because you make $200 million in China, if in everywhere else in the world you only make $100 million and your film costs $500 million to make, you've lost quite a bit of money. Bruce, what's going on? Deeple 101, what's going on? Kaylee Chow leaving early. How dare you? How dare you? Let's see. Shorty, 8 o'clock. Ooh, it's 8 o'clock already. Oh, I need to actually start to go into some of the actual box office numbers here. Short saying, Godzilla wins all the fights, no contest. Guess it depends on what we mean by that. Short. Justin C. Do you plan on seeing The Naked Gun? Box Office Pro is projecting between 20 to 30 million domestic opening. I have my doubts. Believe it's on our list of homework for FNT, and it's actually one based on marketing alone. I'm actually kind of wanting to see. I again, very guarded in it. I I think that it's going to be like, okay, is it going to really be able to be as good as the original Naked Gun movies? I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of opinions on that. It seems to me, though, they're doing everything right as far as their marketing. I think they're doing all the things that they need to get people interested, to make people think, hey, at least this might be fun, right? It may not be better than the other ones, but is what it is. But yes, I am actually planning to watch that. And I think that even if I wasn't having it for homework, it would still be on my list of interested movies. Hardwick at 8:02. After this one, we'll jump into the news, which again is just looking at the actual box office for Fantastic Four, and then we'll jump back into the chat. So Hardwick says here at 8:02, I think the cast of the 2005-2007 Fantastic Four movies was overall better than the new cast. The only new cast member who is arguably better is Vanessa Kirby. I mean, I guess that's a matter of opinion. I honestly think that the actor that they have playing Johnny Storm is better. He's a better actor. I mean, Chris Evans, he may have fit that part at that time, but the current actor playing him, I think he's a much more talented actor. He may not be a Johnny Storm, but honestly, the best part of Fantastic Four, as far as the characters go, is I actually really like that Johnny was presented as a smart guy. I don't really have that same memory from any of the other Fantastic Four movies from those 2005 ones. He was always just the ladies' man. It's like, oh, wait, why is he here? Oh, just because he's related? In this one, I actually felt like, oh, he's actually really, really smart. And I like that. Again, whether that's comic accurate, I don't know. I'm not a comics person. But that was actually a decision I thought was good. And Joseph Quinn is a very talented actor. So I would disagree with you there. I think there's a lot of actors in this movie that are actually as good, if not better, than the original cast. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive into the official stories, though, the official news reporting, because we do have the actual numbers from this past weekend. And let's just say it is not a good look for the MCU. It is not a good look for Disney. But before we go into these numbers officially, as you all know, you are all here because of one primary reason. And let's just get into it.
Time to see a real mathematician at work.
That's right. It's ready for be ready for the math. It's time to see a real math magician at work. And as this character in that play also says, is I don't know, I'm tired, because I am indeed also tired. But let's just jump into these numbers here. So from Tony himself, the king of the shills in the Access Media, Fantastic Four First Steps lands at $117 million domestically. Opening reps record for franchise. He loves throwing out their records. Stars and director Matt Shakman. That's right. So not only is he saying, oh, it's a record for the franchise, meaning the Fantastic Four films, and it's also a record for the stars in the movie and also for the director. It's like, okay, great. Let's just make records for everything. Is it also a record for the first AD as well? Because guess what? Oh, wait, it is. That's right. Our first director on this movie, our second AD on the movie. It's the highest grossing film in their careers as well. Let's talk about them too, Tony. Lord almighty, this guy. Anyway, he goes on. Bittersweet final results here. How are you going to spin it to the sweet side? On one side, it's the fourth 100+ million opener and a rebound for the MCU's post-Thunderbolts, which opened at 74, and Captain America Brave New World's 88. Also remember, those movies opened to 160 million globally for Thunderbolts, 180 million globally for Captain America. This one to 216 globally. So to those who are like, oh, this is really not all that better than those other two movies, that's actually pretty sizable. I mean, that's like a 50 million plus advantage up against Thunderbolts, which remember had good word of mouth. People seem to forget that people were like, oh yeah, it's such a good movie. It's better than anyone thinks. And then no one went to go see it. And then Brave New World, it's about, again, 30 plus million advantage there. So in a game of percentages, that's actually not too shabby, to be honest. It's still, all three of them are still a far cry from where the MCU used to be, but hey. All right, goes on. Again, fewer families when compared to Superman, but this is a far and away a record opening for the Fantastic Four franchise. At this point in time, sources are expecting, and here is to me the biggest story that should have been the headline, sources are expecting a second weekend drop of 60%, which would be around $47 million for its second weekend. So buried in the middle of this, they are expecting a MCU level drop. Remember, on average, MCU films drop 60% or more in their second weekend. So if it drops 60% or higher, guess what? This movie is running like all other MCU films where it's front-loaded in your opening weekend, and then you have those massive drop-offs as the weeks go by, which means, yeah, $500 million might be on the table in that case, in that situation. So it'll be the highest-grossing MCU film of this year, but not really by all that much. You're talking about, at that point, a $100 million advantage up against Brave New World. I'm sorry, that's not where you want to be. You don't want your Fantastic Four film that you've put a lot of time in, you've put a lot of money in for your marketing to only be having that kind of an advantage, because guess what? Having a $100 million advantage off of a $400 million global for Captain America and a 360-ish million global for Thunderbolts, that's abysmal. Those are some abysmal numbers there. But that's what Tony is saying here. He goes on to say, hey, it's the biggest box office opening for Shackman and for Pedro Pascal, Joseph Quinn, Vanessa Kirby, and Ebon Moss-Bachrach. Oh, wow. Can you believe it? It's the biggest box office opening for those guys. And again, why aren't you listening to the first ADs? Why aren't you listening the editor? Is it the editor's biggest box office opening? Please let me know more about that, Tony. Please let me know more things that do not matter at all when it comes to the long-term success or failure of a film or a franchise. Because let's actually get into it, all right? It was projected as being $118 million in its domestic opening. It was actually $117. Again, not the biggest drop in the world, but still less than what was expected. It had said to have been opening to $218 million. It's actually $216.7 million because it also made $1 million less internationally. So what does this say? It says to us this film did less than Superman in its domestic, by about $8 million, and only did $4 million higher in the international, which means two things. For one, it has the same problem Superman does, where it's too heavily front-loaded in the domestic market specifically. And two, it is also in the situation where it's still not going to make that much more money after this with a projected 60% drop domestically, according at least to the sources that Tony is talking to at the very least. Now, I did bring up a couple other things saying, well, where does this actually fall within the Fantastic Four franchise? Unfortunately, the numbers.com was being a giant pain, and so I was only able to get a couple of these up here. So when you adjust for inflation, because Tony never does that, this newest film is indeed the highest, right? $117 million is the current for the first Sunday, versus an adjusted, this is the original 2005 Fantastic Four, $98 million. That's actually pretty impressive there. I had a better Saturday showing, by the way, and also better than Fantastic Rise of the Silver Surfer, which had a $95 million opening when adjusted for inflation. Here's the thing. This would be a situation where if you were to actually take the ticket prices from 2005, 2007, I would not be surprised if you actually ended up seeing higher ticket sales for both of these two movies. And again, I have not done the math on that, so again, take that with a grain of salt. But it is interesting nonetheless to see, right? Oh, it's the best of the franchise. It's the best ever. Yeah, that's not even including Fan 4 Stick. I tried putting Fan 4 Stick in here, but unfortunately that little search box for a movie did not pop up. That's the one I would actually believe probably it destroyed because Fan 4 Stick was awful and it didn't make any money, and I'm pretty sure that just no one went to go see that movie. Now, going over to the charts, because this does, I think, matter quite a bit, right? They're telling us that the movie, Fantastic Four, only cost $200 million to make. So if you're using your typical metrics here, it means a break-even around $600 million, okay? Now, whether that's actually going to be the break-even or not depends on a few things. For one, is this actually the budget? We all know Disney is notorious for lying about their budgets. All of those UK tax filings showed us that in every case, no matter what, every film they made in the United Kingdom where they had to file their taxes and they had to have the public statements, Every one of them, with no exception, they spent well over 100 million more than the number the trades reported. So if the trade said 200 million, it was at least 300 million in the actual budget. If they said 250, it was actually 350 at least, and in many cases, a lot more than even just that. So I take that number with a grain of salt, just like with Superman, by the way. Okay, I don't believe either of those budgets. I think they're a lot higher in both cases than anyone would like to say. But hey, Superman did reach $500 million globally. After a few weeks, it seems like that's a very, very good number. And again, does it have the chance to break even and to make some profit? Sure. The big problem, it's not making much of anything internationally. And it's not going to get any easier from here. Because as Jurassic World continues to do better internationally, and as you start to now have a cut in the international market being brought about by Fantastic Four as well, yeah, law of diminishing returns means you can only make that much more money internationally. And with the domestics, likely for Fantastic Four at least, to be dropping in your typical MCU fare, we can expect this movie to, again, probably end higher than the totals for, so in the case of Thunderbolts, it ended around $382 million. So again, did not even reach $400 million. And it will likely also do better than the Captain America Brave New World, which ended its run around $415 million, with, again, about a 50-50 split between domestic and international. That's the issue of what we're seeing now, is that these big tentpole films from the MCU, from now the DCU as well, are seeing these backwards internationals, these backwards global numbers here. In the case of Brave New World, almost a 50-50 split. In the case of, let's see what Thunderbolts was. In the case of Thunderbolts, you had a higher domestic total than, actually no, because when you add in China, that would actually make it almost a 50-50 split as well. So yeah, here's the issue. Superman, I don't think it's going to end 50-50 or near 50-50. I think that Superman's domestic is going to be a lot higher. So this movie has a chance to reach 350 domestic. Maybe this caps out at 250-ish, 300 maybe internationally. So it's going to be closer to 50-50, but still, this is kind of the era of the films that we're in right now. The internationals are just not showing up at all for either of these, for any of these movies, for any of these franchises. Now, again, good word of mouth does exist for Fantastic Four First Steps, and so does that make a difference? It made some difference for Superman, but we learned this even from Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts had a lot of good word of mouth. A lot of people said, hey, it wasn't as bad. Hey, actually, it was pretty good. Didn't save that movie. Didn't help that movie at all. And anyway, that's kind of the how things are these days anyway. So let's go ahead and jump back into the chat to see what you fine people have to say. Make sure, again, you smash that like button. Smash that rumble button as well. It does mean a lot. We got 60 people watching over on YouTube. Please smash that like button. Share this video out as well. It helps with the algorithms and lets people know, and YouTube know, hey, this is good stuff. Let's see, EX Voot says, I think Japan was the reason Dominion crossed $1 billion. It was released 7 weeks after the United States. It did seem strange that it made $1 billion, as it didn't seem like it would make it. Yeah, that very well could be the case. It's been a while since I've looked at the Jurassic World numbers in the past, so that can always sometimes happen, but you have to remember that just because it's making X amount of money in Japan later on doesn't mean that it's not also making X amount of money in other locations either. So again, I think that whether it was Japan or anything else, it was so close. The studio in that case is going to do anything in their power to push it over the edge, right? That's exactly what just happened with Disney, with Lilo and Stitch, for instance, right? Literally the weekend after it hit $1 billion, it went straight to VOD. So it's like, okay, they clearly have an idea of what they're trying to go for here. And Odin just skipped my comment live. Good, Wingster. Just because you're number 3, all right, in the leaderboard of the chat doesn't mean you get primary. You get preferential treatment. Laura, the Mother Major General, you watching anything interesting right now? Any good series? Yes. So we are in the last week of summer. Which just automatically makes me sad because I just, I love summertime. It gives me opportunities to catch up with stuff. This has been a very it's been a productive and unproductive summer. And a lot of it's because I've had some back issues this summer. I pulled my back actually 2 weeks ago, and it's been really bad. I'm still actually dealing with the effects of that. So I actually have an appointment tomorrow with a specialist in like the sports medicine, trying to get some like physical therapy on it, because I've had chronic back pain for pretty much all my life. But this recent stuff especially has made it so where it's really negatively impacted just living and just doing basic things, even as a parent, lifting up kids, things like that. So stuff that I really want to get fixed and wanted to go get addressed. But I luckily have been, over the last month especially, been able to start to keep up with one of the plans that I have for the summer. So it's probably not going to be able to do what I wanted to do this summer with the OG Star Trek. But I can say, for those wondering, I am now on season 2 of OG Star Trek, episode 10. So finishing up episode 10 of season 2 of the original Star Trek. So, yeah, and I'm still very much enjoying it. Justin C., speaking of Pedro, has there ever been an actor so overexposed in a single year as he? I'm sure there has. I can't think off the top of my head, but this does happen. I mean, there's years where because of delays or because of whatever, an actor is just in everything. So again, that's more on just the nature of the industry versus it being something specifically about him. Let's see. Rob D says, hello, Odin. Coming soon is Pedro. Directed, written, produced, starring, and special effects by Pedro Pascal. Jay Price says he's seen The Core. Bruce reviews. I watched it recently. The Core. I must have watched it 4 times by now. I know it's insane. Sahil99, what's going on, brother? What's a personal favorite movie of yours that lost money? Okay, there's an easy answer for that one because it's one of the most notorious, and it's actually getting a sequel. Lord knows how long it'll take. But Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow was a massive flop. And luckily did a lot better on home video, 4K, things like that. So yeah, Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, depending on, that's one of the issues was the marketing. But yeah, that's where I would be. He then says, also, when did you get into the box office? I got into the box office actually only around like 2017 or so. When I was initially looking to make my channel, I was mostly focused on wanting to do things like movie reviews. And then I started watching Jeremy Geeks Gamers channel and realized, I don't actually have to be as polished as some of these other guys. I could just, talk, this guy's using incorrect grammar and speaking with a lax edit and everything. And he's just telling people how it is. And people actually appreciate that. It told me that people didn't just need to have a polished persona and all the quick cuts and good positive editing skills. All of these things, of course, that we know Jeremy is notorious for having. Or lacking, we should say. But anyway, so it was around that time that he was very passionately speaking about Star Wars and, obviously the release of solo Star Wars stories coming out. And there were things that were being brought up, and it made me ask the questions of, oh man, yeah, so things are really, really bad right now, but I wonder financially how it's doing. And it was from there I just did this like deep dive in, and, that's all she wrote. And then he says, I got into it back in 2005 or so, which is also when I started collecting DVDs. I've been collecting Blu-rays for many years now. Short saying, I saw The Cube, excellent low-budget movie. I've always heard good things about that. Core was a fun time, agreed. Sailor Mercury did say, I remember when Grace Randolph started as Beyond the Trailer and had reviews from movie goers right after they saw a movie. It was interesting. Then she stopped and gave her own dumb opinions. Yep. Then she started speaking. EX Voot says, that Core analogy was amazing. Definitely a fun film. I'm a sucker for disaster movies. Me too. Me as well. And that is definitely one of the more interesting of them. The concept, again, of how they were going to get the Core spinning again. It's kind of amazing. Let's see. Zion Waters saying, to be honest, I just haven't been doing a lot of YouTube outside of Clownfish TV. Well, I'm sorry that I'm not Clownfish TV. Again, offended. Hardwick, to me, they went too far with the alternate universe aspect of Fantastic Four First Steps. It made the world feel less real. It should have been closer to the real 1960s. I mean, I thought the aesthetic was one of the stronger parts of it. The film falls off the rails when the plot comes in. Because the whole concept of let's just move the whole planet, and then to only realize after when things are too late, oh, why don't we just move the one being that we're trying to get rid of. Oh, why did I think of that first? That whole thing is just so bad. It's awful. Jenna Wingster. Alrighty, guys, I'm calling it. I'm retiring from trolling. So, Odin, I'll see you next week. Gotcha, man. El Santo. Your experience and wisdom has proven right again. Great to see you as always. Hey, thank you. Glad to see you here. Justin C. I remember the core. I thought Stanley Tucci's Carl Sagan type character was great. Oh, yeah, and the whole sacrifice that he goes through, too. There's a lot of really great moments in there. I would argue that the core is better than 99% of the films that come out now. Prove me wrong. Hardwick. Overall, the best part of First Steps is Michael Giacchino's score. I think it's at least as good as the Batman score, if not a bit better. I have no problems against it. I just can't remember anything from it. Hardway Ridge. I really need to hear some reviews before I see Naked Gun. I'm highly dubious it will be good, but fingers crossed. Again, everything we're seeing kind of leading up to it seems like it has potential. Kagan Rumsky says, that's the stuff. Jose Taco is here. Hardwick. For me, the worst aspect of First Steps is that it's based around Franklin Richards, a character that I don't think should have ever been introduced, even in the comics, much less the movies. I mean, yeah, that part didn't bother me all that much because it was also kind of predictable. It's like, okay, clearly the child has powers because it's already established that that's happened. And then as soon as a character dies, you're just like, okay, there's no way they're actually dead because this is the first movie in this. And I know that this is kind of, it feels like a separate movie, but it's also clear that they want to push this thing kind of to the moon as far as their characters are concerned. So, it's kind of like, I guess that makes more sense. King and Rumsky, I've always assumed that Fantastic Four would not do better than Superman. So maybe Fantastic Four is doing okay. Yeah, basically, before the actuals came out, things were looking a lot better, right? Initially, remember, it had a much higher start. It had a 2 million advantage in the opening day. And because of that, Tony and all the other people, they ran saying 125 million is on the table now. And then it dropped off quite a bit on Saturday and also on Sunday. And therefore came in well beneath the 125 number, right? The other issue, though, that I don't think people saw as much was it didn't do that much better internationally. All right. Because if everyone's talking about 95 million and how bad that is for Superman, $99 million for a Fantastic Four MCU movie is also not good. Will Riker 94, welcome. Harvick, oddly enough, I didn't particularly mind the female Silver Surfer, even though I disagree with the decision, and the special effects on her were mostly excellent. I mean, I know a lot of people have been praising the special effects, but here's the thing. Just because something looks good doesn't mean that it is good. So, for instance, just because the world of Pandora in Avatar looks good does not necessarily mean that it is the right decision or that everything else around it also looks good. So it's like, okay, just because certain aspects of her character design look clean, that does not mean that it is good or that it is effective or that it is worth the choice to make that, right? Honestly, I kind of wish that they had done a mixture, just like I had wished this with Ben Grimm. I really wish they had done this with The Thing. I really wanted them to do part practical, part special. Because again, there's certain things that obviously you need to use special effects for. But we've seen what you can do with practical effects and a suit in a Fantastic Four movie with The Thing. And that, to me, still looks significantly better. And I'm not talking about comic accuracy because that's not my thing. I'm not a comics person. But to a guy that's so sick and tired of CGI in movies and so sick and tired of blue screen, I'm so glad Fantastic Four used a lot less of it, especially compared to other MCU movies. It's still used too much. Michael Burgett, 2015's Fantastic Four adjusted for inflation domestic opening weekend, 34.4 million, 75.2 million domestic total, 149 million international, 225 million globally. Fan Four Stick was garbage. The Morak, $200 million may have been the budget when it was greenlit, but they spent probably closer to 300 million. Trades need to ask the right questions. What's the cost? Not what's the budget. Also, trades need to say, we're not going to run with a budget just because the studio or someone at the studio told us that was what the case was. And this is something where I personally would be happy with this. I think in the United States, a law needs to be passed that says all movie studios must publicly disclose how much they spend on their movies because it's going to be able to help us with actual tax law, etc. And also because I think that it's important that in many cases, Disney has lied to their investors, and they've now done it several times. The whole exposure through Caroline Reed's reporting over at Forbes.com about what they actually spent on these movies and how much money they actually lost because of that has shown us that, yeah, they can't be trusted to give accurate public disclosures in that way. So I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind maybe like, yeah, guess what? All studios now must officially report through tax filings how much they spent on the movies, so that way we can know, hey, here was what their actual budget was. Wouldn't that be amazing? Might be petty, but hey, a single law, a single bill, I think it could pass. Arnold, hey, 829. Howdy, buddy. How's your summer going? It's almost ending. It's sad. So after seeing Superman and Fantastic Four, does this prove that we don't need original stories? What do you mean? Yes, absolutely we do. That's the issue. Those were not good movies, man. Victor Fontaine hanging out over on the Green Machine. Come fly with me. Vorpal Snack. Okay, there is going to be a debate here, okay? And I don't care what some website says. I don't care what even a calendar says. The fact is this. Many, many schools in the United States, especially in the South, but in general, I would argue a majority of schools, especially like lower schools, high schools, go back to school very beginning of August. My classes start not next week, but the week after. Ergo, August is not summer. It might be season-wise, temperature-wise, but as far as movies go and as far as everything else is concerned, no, August is not summer. If you're back in school, it ain't summertime. Period and stop. Oh, man. Let's see. Going good for a Monday, says Victor Fontaine. Cue summertime sadness. Yeah, seriously. I mean, why would we say summer days drifting away from the musical Grease? Because once your school starts, summer's over. Rewatching Babylon 5, that's good. Edge of Tomorrow is fantastic. Yes, Edge of Tomorrow. Farscape, still need to watch that. Noir is one of my favorites as well. Babylon 5 is so good. Yeah, I would agree. Must keep texting. Keep my number one slot, says Laura. You're the number 2 now. Seafire 2100. I like Chrissy's Grace Randolph better than Grace Randolph. I could see why. Short. Have you seen the Three Body Problem? Excellent series. I have not. Some people have said, like, I wouldn't like it, though. I don't know. Might forget. Did you know there's an anime version of the original story to Edge of Tomorrow based on called All You Need Is Kill? G-Kids is doing a future theatrical release in North America. Did not know that. EX Voot says, what is your favorite disaster movie? Mine is probably 2012. Can't beat the scene where Yellowstone blows up. Ooh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. I've always, for some reason, I remember watching on TV a lot Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones. Not that that's my favorite, but that's just one that sticks out. Yeah, I don't know. Hardwick says, it's not the aesthetic I have an issue. It's more the society depicted doesn't feel like the 1960s or any real society. It's a comic book story, dude. So I know that's kind of like of course you have to make that argument, but that is actually a compelling argument. Short Sword, there was some really goofy stuff in the comics, so not possible to follow their stories. Hardly prefer the look of the new Thing since it's more comics accurate, but I prefer Michael Chiklis' performance and voice. It's more important overall. And again, that's a design thing, though. So just because the design is looking better does not mean that the look is better. Okay? Look is more than just design. So basically, had they had the design of the comics, but in the live-action rendition, what's the good thing about it? It's the live action part of it that's the more important one, I think. Victor Fontaine, who is supporter over on the Green Machine. What's better, DC and Marvel movies with Superman, Lex Luthor, Fantastic Four, and Galactus can't beat out a subpar dinosaur movie that cost less to make than either of them. Yes, allegedly, but most likely and realistically probably did cost less than that. And yeah, the fact that Jurassic World is doing as much as it is, that's crazy. Jose Taco, thank you for the $2 super chat saying here, I'm actually looking forward to Wiley versus Acme. I think because of the history of it, like of how it just, it was shelved and then it got bought and now it's coming to life. Isn't that the same film? Yeah, that's a hero's journey right there. All right, we're going to start to wrap things up pretty soon. But Victor Fontaine saying the superhero genre is still on life support and dying. I mean, I think just bad movies and movie theater fatigue. Let's be honest. It's not just the superhero genre, because I just talked about this past weekend. Eddington is flopping. It's an A24 release. Bad movie. You have the Smurfs film that just came out. No one knew it was coming out, but it came out. No one's seeing it. It's flopping. But then you have I Know What You Did Last Summer, which it's not making much of anything at the box office, but because of how little it cost, it is actually likely to make its money back. Guy, how are you doing? I'm doing fine. Shorty Short, before AC in schools are schools in NC start in September. Yeah, I know that there are some places where you start after Labor Day. I know colleges do that, and I know that there are some lower schools too. It depends on what part of the country you're in, and I believe a lot of it's weather-based. Guy, do you think Fantastic Four will make profit, or will it be another Disney plot? We've been talking about this all stream, dude. You came towards the very end. So check out the very beginning of the stream. Shorty Short saying, and if August isn't summer, it certainly isn't autumn. It is definitely not autumn. That's why I said seasonally, I would agree, right? We could say how the season is still that of a summer, right? But what I just mean is that it is not actually like, again, if you're back in school, it ain't summer. Independence Day, someone says, Kiki and Remsky, when did you know you were a Snyder bro? I think you meant to say, when did you know that you hated Zack Snyder? From almost the beginning, but probably most likely from when I watched, it wasn't even for Man of Steel. BVS was the moment I started to be like, nope, this guy is just trash. And even then, no, I take it back, because there was one other film beforehand, Sucker Punch. Which then did not lead to a very good case or situation where I would at all be open to enjoying something like BVS. But yeah. Let's see. EX Voot says, appreciate all you do. Thanks for the great show. Well, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Laura laughing away there. Just a reality hanging out. California, I believe. This is some bull dinky, she says. Bull dinky. Yeah, super chats get you extra points. So that is, I think, a big part of the reason why some of the other people are ahead of you. So let's see. JS Pena, sorry I'm late. Just wanted to say hi. JS Pena, how dare you be late? Yeah, Sucker Punch is the part where a lot of people do. Shorty Short saying, Owen loves shirtless men in slow-mo. Sucker Punch is horrid. This is not true, because here's the thing. I mention this all the time, right? In hindsight, I've gone, and this is the most unpopular opinion when it comes to Zack Snyder for me and for people that watch me. I've rewatched 300. It does not hold up. I say that it does not hold up. Okay. Hardwick, what do you think of James Gunn's excuse that Superman isn't well known enough overseas? It's a lie. And guess what, Hardwick? You only need to point to one thing to prove him wrong. If that is true, why did Man of Steel do better than you there? I'll wait, James Gunn. Anything? No? Okay. Shut your mouth. Please leave DC, and please just stop making movies. At least for a while. Because I know I'm tired of your shtick. Let's see. Laura is indeed number one. Whoa. Winner, 199. Thank you for the 199. She's saying here, winner. Hosataka, to be honest, I super chatted to knock Shorty off the top spot. Oh, I spoke too soon. Boom, there she is. So as I said, in the future, I'll put ahead and say, hey, here are the things that we'll be giving away. But again, I don't have anything ready for this evening. Let's see, Arnold Hay. Well, now that summer is almost coming to an end, what do you think is going to be the biggest summer blockbuster this year? Wait, what? What do you mean, Arnold Hay? The season's over. What I'll do is I'll say this much, okay? The battle was always going to be between Jurassic World, Fantastic Four, Superman. Jurassic World is the number one movie of the summer. Period. End stop. Okay? It's not the biggest movie of the year. All right, that would go to other films like Lilo and Stitch and the Minecraft movie and others, right? But as far as of the summer, okay. We've got Jurassic World between the three that people were talking about, right? Jurassic World's at the top. The battle right now is between Superman and Fantastic Four, and honestly, until those second weekend numbers come in, we just don't know what's going to happen. But right now, even Tony at Deadline has said he is hearing they're expecting a 60% drop for Fantastic Four. If that happens domestically, and if international does not change for them, because they had almost the exact same numbers as Superman did, then Superman's going to take the number 2 spot, right? It was always going to be an outside chance for Fantastic Four to creep in to take the number 2 spot. Based on the numbers that we have right now in front of us, because there's not any real advantage internationally, which is what the thought was going into this past weekend for Fantastic Four, that it would likely have that. It just isn't the case. There's a battle right now going on between Laura and Jose Taco. This is fantastic. So first though, Hardwick says a science fiction writer Harlan Ellison said that the 5 characters universally known in every country: Mickey Mouse, Sherlock Holmes, Tarzan's Robot, Robin Hood, and Superman. Yeah. Let's see. Jose Taco then at 848 said, "Are you sure?" and gave another $2 super chat, to which she responded, "OMG." Jurassic World Rebirth is number 1, Superman number 2, Fantastic Four number 3. I think that's a very likely scenario. Laura then coming in with the queen, with the tiara on, with the crown on, trying to once again take that crown with another $2 super chat. And that of course made him angry. Stop chatting or I'll kick you out. Yeah, don't forget, Jose Taco, if you keep battling with her, she does have mod powers, so she could absolutely come out of nowhere and put the ban hammer, well, not the ban hammer, right, but put you in timeout so that you wouldn't be able to. So you might as well let her win at this point. Well, anyway, with all that being said, thank y'all for that. That was fun. And hey, thank y'all for supporting the channel as well. So Shorty Short, Jose Taco, EX Voot, and yeah, thank y'all again very much for supporting the channel tonight with the super chats. Even if it was trying to get the number 1 spot out of competition in the future, definitely we'll have to put in giveaway stuff for that. Because if it's stuff like that happens where it's like oh wait a minute, I really want that spot, and it's just people with like the dollars coming in here and there where it's like I need to somehow get the system in, it'd be great. So anyway, let's see. Jay Spaniak, gotta say though, last week was a rough week for celebrity deaths. Oh man, seriously, yeah, absolutely. Rest in peace to Hulk Hogan, of course. Wrestling fan, grew up watching wrestling since I was 10. Kind of crazy to think that I've been watching wrestling and that it's been a part of my life for over, 25 years, going on like 26, 27 years now. It's just kind of crazy. I've never been to Dollywood. It's on my bucket list though, because I hear the roller coasters are actually pretty great. Absolutely rest in peace to Ozzy as well. That was one where it was like man, I don't think anyone ever thought that was going to happen. Like it's one of those things too where it's like not surprising in either case, but it is because you just get so used to it being like no, it's Ozzy. I mean, he's going to last forever basically, right? And it's Hogan. It's the immortal Hulk Hogan, man. But then you also take into reality, they're real people. And Hulk Hogan did not take care of himself very well. Did a lot of damage to himself, not just from wrestling, but clearly also from whatever performance enhancing stuff he was taking. A lot of damage done to his heart. Yeah, so that's why we pray for them. We pray for the repose of their souls. And I know that there's many others too that have lost their lives more recently. A couple of them are ones that I was not very strongly connected to as far as just not really watching their shows a whole lot, but we still pray for them, of course. Oh my gosh, yes, agreed, Laura. His last song was Mama, I'm Coming Home. And if you've not seen that clip of him, it's his last song ever singing on stage at his farewell tour. And he has to stay in his chair, but you still hear him and you're like, man, after everything he's been through with how old he is, he still sounds like so good. Yeah, Malcolm from Cosby Show. And that was especially, I would say, the real tragedy, because it was an accidental death versus the others where it's like, it's not surprising. It's still sad, of course, and we pray for them, but that's especially one that kind of really gets to you in a lot of ways. And yeah, so this Wednesday, guys, so not tomorrow, but Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time, it'll be our last Good Morning Asgard podcast for the summer of 2025. Because, yeah, we're starting up school next week with meetings and full classes the week after that. So my summer is ending, which means, hey, if it's ending for me, it's ending for everyone. And I don't care what anyone else says, including the sun. But we will have our last show tomorrow for the Good Morning Asgard podcast. So we'll still have our Monday live streams going forward, and everything else that I do, the Salty Saturday streams, FNT, all that stuff also is not changing either. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and head out because I'm tired, and this ice pack on my back is just not really doing it. So hopefully laying in that chair back there, it'll help a little bit better. So you guys seriously are great. Some last comments. Ozzy Osbourne, a legend. R.I.P. You'll be missed, Oz, and Chuck Magione. I'll be there, says the Morak. Guys, have a great blessed night. Connie Francis also died this month. H. Dizzle later. Oh, thank you for your words, of course. Will Riker, excellent show. Good evening. Great stream, says Sailor Mercury. Thank y'all for being here. And yeah, congratulations to the number one person tonight, which is, of course, Laura, the Modern Major General stories. So everyone, of course, give a nice round of applause for her, because she is the Queen Mod here. She is phenomenal. And again, we'll have to try to do some more stuff with that in the future, since now that does show up on my end. This is like the first stream, I think, where that has been showing up. Yeah, we'll have to do some type of giveaways thing for it, where it's like your top 3 people get put into a running to win whatever movies I have available at that time, at that day. But yeah, anyway, if you are looking for giveaways more quickly, though, I do have a Discord server, and if you are a keeper of the Bifrost level member or above through Patreon, Subscribestar, or on YouTube, you do get access to that Discord server, specifically to the giveaways channel there, and I do giveaways all the time. Right now, there is a giveaway going on for... which one is it? Oh my goodness, I forget. Which one is currently being given away over there? Maybe it's Drive? Yeah, I've got a copy of the 4K Steelbook of Drive. Again, I think it's a pretty beautiful Steelbook. So those are the kinds of things that I'm giving away all the time. I give away tons of Steelbooks, tons of 4Ks. Every now and then, I'll put together a Star Wars Specialized Edition set or something similar to that. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, again, join today, become a member. All that information you can find in the video description down below. And that's going to be it for me, everybody. I'm going to go get some dessert or something. But anyway, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day. A blessed Monday. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my people on Patreon, Father Luca Illich and Miss Modern Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Modern Muses. Also to my Subscribe Star people, Matt317. Check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Matt317. And lastly to my YouTube member, Mr. Roy. Shout out to you, good sir. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, check out the top link in the video description below where you get access to that. Also, you get access to a plethora of other things. You get your name listed at the end of every live stream and video, like you saw in those names that came up before this video started. And also access to a giveaways channel that I host over on the Discord server where I give away 4Ks, Steelbooks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff. So check that out if you're interested in that. Also, I have an exclusive podcast that I hold at least once a month, and it's always a good time, and you get extra bonus content with that also. So if any of that sounds interesting, again, check out that top link in the video description below. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, God bless.